Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. You can find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. We're also on BitChute and YouTube as Speaking Podcast. I also have the Awakening Podcast, the Meditation Podcast, and the Learn Polish Podcast, and all can be found on roycolin.com. Today, my guest, all the way from the Netherlands, I'm going to not do it justice, Elswine Rietweld.
Very good.
So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So I always like the guests to introduce themselves, tell the audience who you are.
Okay. Yeah, well, I am Elsewine. I'm a confidence trainer from the Netherlands, and I call myself a former deer in the headlights when it comes to public speaking and speaking on camera. Because my first experiences in front of a group as a student was that I blacked out. I stood in front of the classroom. I had to tell them something, and 90 pairs of eyes were just staring at me. And up until today, I don't know what I've said. So there was this disconnect in my brain. So I was like, well, I might need to do this more often in the trade, in the education and in the jobs after that. So I started training on that, got more comfortable, but not, or I got more used to it, should I say, but still feeling uncomfortable when speaking in front of groups. And at some point wanted to create a video training, and right in front of that camera, I had that same feeling the deer in headlights was back. It was as if like the 90 pairs of eyes were staring at me, even though it was just me in a room with a thing, with a camera. But it felt so scary that I just walked out of the room. So if anybody listens here and says like, well, I don't like doing videos at all, I can definitely relate.
Yeah, I know that. Well, for one, being on stage for the first time, I had a similar situation. It was like the brain just, disappeared. And yeah, also when I started doing, because I wanted to do vlogs, and I just got so panicky. And even recently, it's a strange thing, but Clubhouse, if you're familiar with Clubhouse, that's like a kind of an audio thing. I mean, I'm a DTM now. I got very nervous. But what was strange is at one stage, somebody opened up to it and they all admitted the same, that because it was a new platform, we were just kind of, not used to it. But no, it's grand. I mean, it's like anything. You just practice and yeah, you'll get better. And what part of the Netherlands are you from?
I am close to Utrecht. So that's about 40 kilometers east of Amsterdam, at the same height of Amsterdam. So it's
Okay.
we'll get there. And maybe I just heard you say that, Roy. I love that. What you say, everybody has that feeling. And I don't know if you've heard of the saying, new level, new devil. So a new platform could be a new level for some. And even though they might speak on camera now or on stage or in meetings or whatever, suddenly that clubhouse can feel like a whole new level and has its own, like, bringing its insecurities.
No, exactly. And the reason I asked about the Netherlands is my brother. I've only one brother, and he's living for 25 years in the Eindhoven. So I've been a few times
Ah,
to the Netherlands, and beautiful, beautiful country.
yeah. Oh, one of our cats comes from Eindhoven. We collected her there, so it's about 1 hour by car from here.
Okay, so close. Yeah, very good. And I mean, you mentioned, the deers and the headlights, but even younger, when you were kind of having to speak, or was it similar, or did you just when you were in school?
Yeah, we actually didn't have to give presentations in school. I don't know why. But looking back, I don't recall being in front of the classroom and having to present something at all. I don't know. We didn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
So,
kind of similar. I mean, we had to stand up and read, but it's the one time. Well, I wouldn't even say in secondary school because I think at that stage you're too kind of conscious and paranoid. It's like they should do it when you're like we start school at 4 in Ireland. It's around 6 in Poland, but I think at that age they should get people to be going up, tell their little story, because then you don't care, and then it just becomes second nature. And it's a pity that that's not kind of just the educational system around the world.
that is so true. And one of the things I did as a student to overcome my fear of public speaking was actually to join a debating club. And I think debating would be an excellent way to start with in schools. I know a lot of schools in England do this, not all of them though. Um, because it sort of feels safe, because with debating, it's sort of as a sport. You're given a motion, for example, we should reinstate the death penalty. And then they say like, oh, Roy, your proposition, you're in favor of the motion, and Elswine, your opposition, you're against. Regardless of what your own opinion is, you just have to sort of like hone the skill and the technique of like formulating arguments and giving examples, standing in front of the class, all these things. And it doesn't feel too personal because it's not your opinion. So it's an excellent training tool, I think. um yeah, I'm really, it's one of my passions, and we have two kids and they both love it as well. They participated in various debating tournaments, and yeah, it's a good skill to develop.
No, definitely. And like I didn't do it in school, but we started doing it in the Toastmasters Club, and I loved it because I prefer when I'm actually when I choose, because sometimes we'd pick a topic and we'd ask, okay, who wants to go farthest, who wants to go for again? Because when you're passionate about something and you understand it, it's a lot easier. But even if you have to be on the opposite side, like what I love is when you're listening to the person before you and you can kind of go, I loved what you mentioned about A, B, and C, but bum 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 bum, and you can just kind of it's brilliant, like, because you're really paying attention to everything, because that's how you'll actually win, by seeing where they're falling down.
Yeah, and actually doing debates. I joined a debating club in Utrecht where I did my studies back then. And I actually met someone in the sister debating club. We were the only two who debated in English at the time. And this Sunday we celebrate 23 years together. So it was a good
Congratulations.
find back then. But that also meant that we were both a member of both the clubs, both societies. So we were debating every Monday and every Wednesday. And one of the things that really brought me is that, like, to have acceptance of other people's opinions. Like, it's not only I'm very opinionated, and like, it's not like, oh, there's two sides to everything, I don't care, I have my own opinions, but I can also respect that there is another truth or another way of looking at things for other people. So because of, and on some topics I even changed my mind or went more towards the middle because of doing these debates and hearing these arguments and, yeah, thinking about it. So I think it's a good skill to not really stay close minded, like this is how it is and nothing else.
Totally agree with you,
So
because like a lot of us, we've been conditioned by our belief system, by others thrown into us, and you have to, like, especially with my other podcast, because like that's the Awakening one, where we're exposing corruption and fraud, and there's sometimes like there's things that I would hear, and I change. I don't stick to, if there's information that comes out, I just go with, okay, yeah, I didn't realize that, and yeah, I'm able to adjust, and yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's another skill. So, and Toastmasters is a good place as well. I've not never participated, but I did give training at a few of them, and I know the background of it. So it's just not a point in my life where it fits at the moment. But if you're listening in and you feel like you want to hone your skill more, Toastmasters or a debating club are two places that are really worthwhile to check out, to see if there's somewhere close to you, where you can sort of join and practice.
Yeah, and there's a good social scene too as well, because some people think, like with I mean, I'm very good friends with a lot of people from the Toastmasters clubs, and like some people think you're just going there, you're speaking, and you're going away, but a lot of the time you're going for the meal afterwards, you're meeting at weekends for drinks, and just you meet different nationalities as well, because our one is an international entrepreneurs, and it's a great way to connect with people.
Absolutely.
So you've done some events and workshops as well, yeah?
Hmm.
So you might tell us a bit about that. One, what you've done, and two, how you structure it.
Yeah. So for the last year, I've been focusing on video for, well, obvious reasons, because nobody was giving real life presentations anymore. But for the past 8 years or so, I've been focusing my trainings and workshops on speaking in front of other people. And that could be like speaking in a meeting at work, or because you're newly promoted into a new role, and all these, like we just said, new level, new devil, right? It's one thing to go somewhere as an employee and give a presentation to a client, but when you're suddenly the senior manager or the director, you're still going out there, but it does feel different, because you also, what goes on for yourself, like the expectations you have or you think other people have of you now that you're this and this new function. So I've worked a lot with managers and directors, um, as well as well, lawyers, local politicians, so not the national ones, but from cities and provinces that we have. And what I work on is actually the thing that changed everything for me. So I told you that I wanted to create an online video course, but I was just too scared. I walked out of the room. And where debating helped me get more in front of groups in speaking, I found a method in America called feminine presence, which was a really practical method with exercises for body, mind, and energy that help you get out of overthinking. Like we're sort of like in this head bubble where we're so overthinking and everything gets multiplied here. So to be more present, so to get out of that head bubble and get to be present in a moment and connect with your audience. And it's really funny. I've worked with really good experienced speakers, and often they speak on technique, routine, experience. So it's good, it's entertaining, and they can really get to the next level when they bring in this presence element. And funnily enough, it was called feminine presence. Their focus was for women, but I started working with men more actually. So I quickly after called it presence training rather than feminine presence. And I integrated it with my background in debating, kinesiology, speech therapy, which was the study I did when I started out. So it sort of all came together as a training and workshops to, yeah, for people who want to be speak with more impact, increase their natural charisma, and feel more themselves and calm when they speak to other people, because that is what it did for me. And yeah, that's what I've been doing for years. And part of that I also bring to my video training, because it's similar. Even we are here now together recording this, but sometimes you record a video and there is nobody there. And then still you need that same connection. So when I do my videos, I always picture a person. I always do the same exercises beforehand to get out of my head, get out of overthinking, and be present in the moment and really think about one person, like who will be watching this and what do they need to hear, and then speak to them in a conversational manner. Um, so yeah, so that's I hope that answers your
Oh no,
question a bit of of what I'm
absolutely.
doing.
And just because based on that, like you're talking about the bigger clients and everything, but with the debating as well, people don't realize with the debating, because you get so used to kind of discussions and everything, it's very good if you're going for a job. It's also very good for looking for a raise and giving reasons why it. And also if you want to negotiate in a business, if you're purchasing something, you can be saying why, because you want to try and get the win-win situation. And I think through the debating, you actually get great skills for that.
Yeah, and to think on the spot, like that is one thing that I always love, is when they come up with something unexpected and you have to think on the spot and like come up with something. It feels like that when you talk about getting a raise or having a job interview, and to really listen. That is something people don't always listen as well. And then to substantiate your argument why indeed it helps with that. So I still love debating as well. And actually, a colleague of mine hires me regularly to judge debates in company settings. So they get basic training. For a lot of people, it's their first time of debating. And then they do a short tournament at the end, because that's what you learn most of. And then they need more people judging and giving feedback. So that is one of the things I do as well. So it's still very present for me, a topic still.
No, brilliant. And then you mentioned when sometimes you get a question off, on the cuff, like in Toastmasters, they do table topics, which is basically you're called up the stage and they just throw a question at you and you have to try to talk for, 2 minutes. And that's another great way of just being prepared for anything, because you don't know when there's going to be a curveball thrown at you. You just have to be ready. And, the best way to do is through practice, like you mentioned at the start, the deer in the headlights, the fact that you speak more, the fact that you go on camera, that's how you become competent, and the fear disappears.
Absolutely. So one, it does help to get some training or techniques or basic support, but indeed after that, you can know all the things in the world, but if you then never do it, you know, and even, I speak to a lot of people who create videos and who did have a fear and then overcame that fear. But they do say if there is a period of time when they don't record videos, then going back to it feels harder for them still, even though they don't feel so scared anymore. It's still sort of like, oh, but then this and that. So, like you say, you need to just do it more often, and then it becomes like a habit or,
And I think with
yeah.
that, it's your head again, because I've seen fellas, like there was one chap in the Toastmasters who had won, I think, the humorous speech in Poland. So, decent enough competition gone through, but he took a year off and came back and expected himself to be at the same level. And he got a shock, like, as he said, he was terrible. And I think a lot of the time it's our head starts talking to us. We don't get the clearness that we can actually just, I like to be in flow. Like sometimes you go and you start speaking, and if somebody said repeat that, it'd be hard, because I'm not going to a script, or I prefer to just know what I'm talking about, know what I'm going to start, what I'm going to finish, but my main script. And it's sometimes the stuff comes up that I didn't even plan on saying. It just, the thought process as I'm there. I'm not sure if that's similar with yourself when you're speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a good point that you address here, Roy. It's the not knowing what you're going to say. So, of course, you have some basic idea. So, you could write down, and this is the same for when you go public speaking or when you create videos, is to write down um, maybe like 3 or 4 bullet points. But so many people feel they need to write out more or script it. And I think that is a bad idea. First of all, because with reading, you lose the connection with your audience. And it really gives you sort of a false sense of security. And when you go off script, it's super, super hard to get back into it. Whereas you can trust on the topic that you're going to talk about because you're the expert, right? They ask you. So it's a little bit different, of course, when you do a debate or this table off the cuff, and they say like, oh, if you give me a topic on football, I could fill 2 minutes with it, but I don't know much about it. So I would never put myself out there and say, well, I will come and give a lecture in your company about football, because I literally don't know. There's this joke, what is it called? Like that they make the goal, but it doesn't count because they were out of reach.
Offside.
Yeah, that one. So I sort of think I know it, but I couldn't even explain that, right? So I would never put myself out there as an expert on football and talk about that. But take a lot of other topics that I know a lot about. I could talk a lot about debating, making videos, but also, for example, Switzerland, or talk about the Netherlands, or talk about being a mom. Name the topic. And I have my own experience on that, and I can trust that experience. And like you said, Roy, you cannot sort of literally repeat the things you said before because it is not scripted. So there can be like a general line, I'm going to cover this, this, and this. But other than that, I think it should come from within and in the moment, how it exactly it comes out. And when you want to stick to a script or too tight on the specific words, you actually lose out on connection and effectivity because you're too much in your head thinking about the words and not about helping the people who are listening.
No, exactly. And like I've been involved in a lot of different businesses, and one that I'm getting into now is on the crypto. And I actually wasn't confident in it. And that's why we've kind of slowed down. I went away then, and because I've read books and it didn't help, but I've done courses now because I don't like talking unless I'm truly confident. Because, like when somebody throws a question, it's not nice when you don't know the answer. You know, they can start saying something regard in that field. And I totally feel that, especially, you know, if you change direction in a business, and like if when I was getting into real estate, I could read 10 books on a certain topic because I don't like to spoof it. You know, a lot of people they'll be waffling and they'll be pretending. I don't like that, because you get caught once and it's just, you lose face. And I just, you know, if I don't know something, I'll say I don't know, and then I'll research it. I'll come back to the person. But yeah, I get what you're saying with the football and everything. It's so much important, you know, to be totally confident in the topic that you're involved in.
Yeah, and then to trust on that. And it is okay to not know. There will always be something who comes up with a question or idea that you don't know. But like, I don't know a lot about crypto, so I wouldn't do a lecture on crypto either. You know, who would want to listen? Because single thing they will ask, I don't know. I don't know. So if you are quite well known, like you know a lot about your topic, you never know everything. So it's totally okay, like you just said, to, when there comes a question, to say, I don't know, good question. Either ask the room, does anybody else have experience with this? Or you can say like, I will look it up and get back to you with the answer, because you can find it. But overall, most likely, like 29 out of 30 questions, you do know the answer, because that is why they asked you to do the presentation, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I know that you've landed some big end clients, Deloitte, KLM, and a few others. A lot of people hope to get clients like that. How do you go about that?
It actually happens through LinkedIn. So, and word to mouth. But so those are the two things actually. So I've done a training how to use LinkedIn effectively. So I basically go out there, I connect with people, and I put my content out there, but I never send a private message to them. But I've connected with a few people. There was also, it's a Dutch company, but there was this guy, and he was a CEO, and he had 450 people in his team that he was responsible for. And he was one of those people that I said he was really like this high flyer, going to the ranks quickly, and then at this point landed, felt uncomfortable suddenly, like, oh, but now I'm the CEO. And that, you know, that can feel so different. And he said like, oh, I've read your profile and I see your updates, and can we work together? So I worked with him for a day, and he had the skills, but there was just some things that we did. And yeah, he got back to me and said like, oh, you know, I'm back to being me again, things like that. So, and sometimes it's because you work with someone and then they take on a new job, and then they say like, hey, you know, I did this training with this person. So that also works. Word to mouth is a very powerful way. And I have someone also who organizes trainings. So basically she finds the people and I come and do the training, which is really nice. And then we split everything even. And all I
That's
have to do is
brilliant.
to
Yeah,
come
win-win
and show up.
situation. Yeah, excellent.
And she has a lot of connections, like with uh, was someone from HR in KLM, and they were in that training. And then sometimes it happens more quickly, and sometimes over time they say like, oh, you know, I have some people here that actually can benefit from this as well. So yeah, those are ways. So either people find me or word to mouth, or someone organizes like this group training and they have these people in their network. Um, so
Brilliant.
so
And
yeah,
I
that's
don't think people realize, like, especially if you're the COO and become the CEO, normally you don't get training from the company. You kind of have to do and like, so you could be used to dealing with internal, you know, employees and maybe suppliers and stuff, and then all of a sudden you're outside and you're actually dealing with the public. So it's good that people are able to actually, you know, kind of take, you know, refresher. They might have the skills, but it's different skill set.
yeah, or they need something else, or it is their mindset coming up. They're suddenly feeling this pressure, like, you know, can I do this, or it's different. And I think sometimes people put too much pressure, or cannot sort of admit like, oh, I would like some support or training with this or this. So they find it sort of outside. So they contact me personally. And sometimes not, sometimes it is within a company that they say like, hey, let's do this together. But I think there could be, yeah, it depends on the culture of the company. Sometimes it can be very competitive and they feel like if they would say, I would like to, I feel uncomfortable speaking for important clients, or when I have a meeting with other CEOs or whatever, and I would like to train myself to be better at that. That's, I don't think people say that because it's seen as a sign of weakness, whereas I actually think it's a sign of strength
Absolutely. Yeah.
to know, to see like, oh, I could hone this skill and get better at it. So
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. And I see there's another thing you've got is like a pirate. And I know it's not the pirate with the guy, I know the Long John Silver pirate. So you might tell us a bit about what's that about?
yeah, so over the last few months, I have written a book, how to get comfortable on camera. And one of the chapters covers the pirate technique of doing live videos. And that is an acronym. So it stands for 6 steps to think about when you do live videos, because people are different. So I work with some people who feel like, oh, live video is always good. I know there is just no way back and I interact with people, I'm fine, but recorded is super hard. And other people like me first dreaded recording and then started. But even though I was making videos, going live felt like a whole other level, like the Olympics or something. And I was like, oh, but I'm just starting out. Just in my backyard basically, and then the Olympics seemed so far away I couldn't get there. And over time obviously I did, and I've done so many live videos as well. So I created the P.I.R.A.T.E technique of doing live videos as as an acronym to remind what to focus on. So shall I go over them quickly,
Yes, yeah,
what they
definitely.
are?
Yeah, I'd be interested. Yeah.
Yeah, so the P stands for prepare. So you think about the topic, like we said before, you don't write it out, you don't script it, but you might write down like the bullet points, like I'm going to talk about this, this, and this. You prepare your background, your lights, you check your microphone to make sure that as good as possible you are prepared. You check what you're wearing, your voice, warming up, you do some stretches maybe before you go on. So you are prepared to go live. The I stands for interaction. I think that is the most important element, because if you don't interact with the audience, why are you even doing a live? And some people don't like that. That's fine, but then don't do a live video. So I've been on a live as a person participating, and they were just ignoring all the comments. So I left. I was like, this is not good. So when you have a lot of people attending, you don't need to answer every comment, obviously, you can't, but you need to have regular interaction. So, how to do that with the comments is the R. So, generally, I say no reading, like I said before, because you lose the connection with your audience. But here you, and I also say make eye contact. That's in another part of the, it's super important to make eye contact with the camera to have that connection with your audience. But for the reading part, you look away. So either on your second screen, if you have your phone at hand with the comments, or sometimes the comments are on your screen, you read the comments and you say like, okay, oh, Roy, you want to know more about how debating could improve your speaking skills. Okay, excellent question, Roy. Let me tell you. So you read the name of the person, you read the question out loud, because what happens is when there's a lot of comments, they happen so quickly. And if I would say, yeah, indeed, Roy, good idea, people are like, I don't see the comment. What is she referring to? And especially on when they watch on replay, it totally gets missed. So that is why you first read the question and then you answer it again with the connection in the camera. A is ask a lot of questions. So um, like we are here now together with the two of us, but let's say we were in a group and this was live and there were other people in the chat present. I could say something about my journey, being a deer in headlights in front of the camera. And then I'd ask, like, who recognizes this? Who also, or what fear do you have around videos? Or what is holding you back from creating videos? Or even at the start, like, where are you from? What did you have for dinner tonight? I just had pizza, or just made from scratch with everything. I love doing that. What did you have for dinner? Just to get them to interact and type in the comments, um, yeah, in the introduction and relevant to topics that you address. So ask them like, yeah, Toastmasters. Have you ever been to a Toastmasters club? Or like, what are your experiences? Have you heard of it? And then people start to comment again. So that is ask a lot of questions. Then the T stands for timing. Because sometimes what I do see is people, they start to say something and a comment pops up, and mid-sentence they stop and they're like, yes, well, Sophie, and then they're sort of losing their train of thought. So keep focused, finish your sentence or finish your part. You don't need to answer every question on the spot, and just, manage your timing. And you could say like, okay, I'm going to explain the 6 steps of the P.I.R.A.T.E technique now, and then I will look at the comments. And then so you do, and you talk, and then you say like, oh, this question, that question, and then you go through the questions. So that is the timing. And then the E stands for expect it to go wrong. So not from a point of view of doom scenarios and everything will be messed up, but actually to be flexible and positive, and don't be off balance by whatever happens, because anything can happen. And my way is acknowledge it and move on if you can. Like, unless like the ceiling is dropping down on you, it's like, oh, sorry, I have to go. And but usually it's not that big a thing. So when it's like the neighbors start drilling, or a dog walks in, starts barking, I just say like, oh, hey, someone left the door open, let me quickly take out the dog. And don't just pretend nothing is happening, and just keep going on. And the dog is barking, you're like, oh, I hope they don't hear it. And then you sort of get all weird and like it's the
Class.
elephant in the room.
We actually, because I do a live call every week with the Awakening. It's basically the Freedom Broadcasters. So there's 5 podcasters, and we've got really famous guests from around the world: David Icke, Sherry Tenpenny, and different people. And there was one situation, I don't know which guest it was, but basically they had an internet problem, so they disappeared for a while, and everybody else just kind of sat there as if like in panic. And I just then jumped in and started talking to the others about something, because I knew he was going to come back, just not to have a 5 minutes of silence, because it could
Yeah.
happen. And
Yeah,
just
tech problems, definitely. Or suddenly people don't hear you, and then people in the comments say, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. And other people say, I hear her fine. And then, oh, it's on their end. Or if everybody says like, I can't hear you, okay, then you have to sort of type in the comments. Or if it's something else that happens, just address it. And technical things can always happen, like you're freezing up, and then like you say, don't be scared, just address it and try to solve it as best as possible and continue. So that is the steps for what I think helps people to be less scared of doing lives and more effective when you do them, is to follow the P.I.R.A.T.E technique.
I actually love that. And the fact that I'm actually doing, I don't know how long we're doing it, maybe not 6 months, maybe 4 to 6 months. We're doing it every Saturday. And the one thing that we're not doing, which I've just realized, we do engage the audience, but what it is we kind of have the person that's last that then kind of acknowledges and gives. But that's not right. We should be kind of every now and again between, as we switch, because we'd have, depending on how long we have with the guests. So I might have 10 to 20 minutes, and then it's the next person, and we don't interact. We don't disturb the person that's talking. So you've had your time, then it's the next person. But we see the comments coming down, and I think it would be better for the audience if we all kind of acknowledge it. Obviously, there's not always great questions, but when you see something that is actually good, instead of being conscious on our own questions, let's engage them, because as you said, that's why you're doing the live. Otherwise we should do it recorded. And to be honest with you, that was a slap in the face for me. That was kind of, we're not really engaged. I mean, if we keep them till the end, that's not great. And the other thing that you mentioned as well is, like, we use StreamYard, and when you write, there's no way of doing a private message on that. It's kind of like you're writing to the group, so everybody sees it, and it is a distraction. I mean, like you see people talking and they just, even the guests sometimes, and sometimes they're asking questions that's kind of related to the guests. So, like the software that you use as well. I mean, if you can have a system where you can have a private chat with one group, it's a lot better, because sometimes you don't want the speaker to know, because you could be saying like, how long have we got? You don't want them to see that. Do we have an hour and a half or 2 hours? And it can look unprofessional to be writing that when, say you're the guest, you're looking at that and you go, these guys don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, those things are tricky. And actually, I've been doing a few interviews on StreamYard, where people, I don't have LinkedIn Live, but they do. So they were interviewing me and they were streaming into a Facebook group and on LinkedIn. And there are actually two tabs. So one of the things you can do with StreamYard is to bring up comments, right? So you bring forth a comment and you put it under the speaker. So if you do it like this and you want to address a comment, either the speaker himself or herself can click like, this is a comment I'm addressing now, so it's also visible for everyone to see. Or you could talk about doing a setup with a moderator, and the moderator then clicks like, oh, this is a good question, can you answer that? So that could be a way of doing it. But I actually thought like, I thought it was like the moderator version of StreamYard, but there are two tabs in the one, and I'm not sure if one is private chat actually, but maybe that's for all the speakers and you cannot leave one person out. It could be it. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
it. So it's
normally you
either the
can,
private chat
yeah, exactly. You private
and
to
then the
one
comments.
person, but you can't go to 5 people and not one, which is
Oh
this.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we've done that actually, where somebody, one of the guests is actually written in, and one of the listeners, and you can put up their picture. John has asked this question, and it really makes them feel good as well, because they're going, hey, wow, they just put up my picture and they're asking.
Yeah,
So there's a good chance
exactly.
they would share that with other people as well, because at the end of the day, you're doing the live to build your audience and try to get more people to be listening to your show.
Exactly. So that is one of the things I like about StreamYard. And you could, I think I have it myself as well. I haven't used it that often. I think you can also put in like a URL or something that you want to promote already, and you can click to add that as well
You can have it
underneath.
on the end scrolling. Like basically the person that organizes has something scrolling at the bottom the whole time. I think that's a bit of a distraction. I think it's okay, like each time somebody starts to speak, you can just put up their website and maybe their name, and well, most of us, like we have now, have their name anyway, but just say the website. But having something scrolling along, I think they're not
Now,
paying. I don't
scrolling is distracting. I
exactly.
wouldn't have that, but like having this pop-up comment, and then you see like the picture of the person and their name and then the question they have, that's a really good way of, yeah, putting someone in the spotlight and say like, oh, that's an excellent question, let me answer it for you. Yeah, that's a good win situation. And then for the other part, you could, you do look away then, but yeah, no, that would be too tricky to have like a WhatsApp group. Yeah, you could do that, and the person
Exactly.
speaking
Sometimes
would.
we were doing it. It looks, it, like, because if I'm on my phone and I'm writing to one or the other, even though it's a way of doing it, it's a distraction, and people kind of think that you're not engaged, and they don't realize I could be writing to one of the other speakers saying, hey, maybe fix your background or something. It unfortunately you can't do that, because one, they mightn't even see it, and two, it looks like you're just not even engaged.
Paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you're playing a game on your phone or something.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And like the other thing that I like to, like your background is fantastic, and one, I love the way the book is, because I've never seen that before. I know sometimes you'd see the full screen and everything, but the new book, that looks, but I mean, that's the green screen that you have there, yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's very good. It's actually very good quality, because mine, like, I've got a Velux window, and unfortunately the light sometimes, so I had to turn it off just as we started. I don't know, did you notice that? Because I had the green screen on, and I saw it flickering. It happens sometimes, so then I just had to turn it off that it doesn't flicker. But as you see, I put up my hand, or if I hold up a glass, it disappears. It's like the invisible
Yeah,
man.
it does a little bit here as well. Like this is actually
No, no,
green
it's okay.
tea.
If I actually screen, but if I put on the actual green screen, I can even do it there now because some people are obviously watching on the thing. It started flickering, and so I have a green screen, so no, it's okay.
Oh
And,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
I hold up the glass, you'll see the glass.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
But at the
so
start, it started flickering. That's why I turned it off because it seems to be okay again now. So
yeah. No, so this is I just edited that in the book, but I get so many people, even people who know me, who think this is my actual room, and I say, well, if only. Or people write me. I use this as a background a lot of videos I share for consistency, although I do have other backgrounds as well. And then I get people asking, like, where did you buy these curtains? Or I really love your background. And it's such a, like, even a friend of mine thought this was my room. And I was like, I wish. But I
like
used it. So
honestly, only for the new book in this. So I would have thought as well because it does. I mean, mine is a picture of my bookshelf, so it is my own bookshelf. But I have the green screen behind me. But yours really looks. It looks like it is where you're located.
yeah, and I saw this picture and I just fell in love with it and with the colors. And I actually put my nails in the on brand yesterday because I was like, oh, that's so nice. So you can see this picture is also used on the book cover. This is actually a screenshot from a video I did, and I put that on the cover. And I like these colors, so I use them for the branding and the promotion of the book now.
No.
So yeah, so that's why. But I love it. But I only can use it with the green screen. I know Zoom has an option to use a background without the green screen, but on my computer that doesn't work at all. So I only have the virtual background option and choose between different ones if I actually have my green screen. So that's
And
why I have it here.
like that with the live stream that I do, it doesn't work. It's for some reason when I add a green screen, it's really flickering and it just looks terrible. So I just normally just have the green screen behind me, and I know I've got the ring light and another light there, so just to make sure it's bright. But
Yeah,
yeah, so I
yeah.
was thinking of getting something white to put over the green screen because a white background looks kind of better, it's because sometimes the coloring with the green ain't great.
True. Yeah, you can do that. And yeah, I on StreamYard, it actually works also. I was interviewed by someone and I said, oh, does StreamYard have like green screen option? And there was a way. So we were sort of fiddling. I was a little bit early. So I said like, oh, let's try it out. And then we made it work. I don't know. There was something with settings and I
No, you
needed to
can
do
do it. You can
something.
add it, but it's only once it turned out really well for me. The other times, for some reason, it flicks, and I just stopped doing it. And I mean, I've got strong internet and everything, so I don't know. Yeah, but
Yeah, that's tech for you. There will always be something. It should work, but it doesn't always work the way it should.
exactly. So, like finally, I mean, you've mentioned about the pirate. So, what else is in the book? Because I mean, like to be honest, like that tip on the pirate is brilliant. So, obviously, I'd like to know what else you've got covered in the book.
Yeah, so I start with talking about why it's important to do videos, because you cannot really get to know a person from written text only. So I talk about that. There's some stories and background throughout the book. It's written very accessible, so it's like, well, people tell it's like an easy read. And someone already got the book on Sunday. It's just gone live this weekend before we are recording this, and she got it on a Sunday and she was like, oh, I was going to flip through, but I'm already on page 52. So she sort of liked the build up of things. So I talk about why it's important to do videos, common struggles people have, so you know that you're not alone with what you're going through. And then I start with a strategy, and think about why you want to do videos and what your goals are with video, because it's okay to do like a random video left and right, but it helps to be much more focused with that. So I've created an exercise that will take you 30 minutes to 1 hour one time, and after that you have at least 75 content ideas, and it could be 125 depending on how many goals you set. So if you set, it's basically 25 content ideas per goal, and usually you set between 3 to 5 goals. And you can create more videos on the same topic because it sounds a little bit different. So if you have 75 ideas, you have material to create at least 150 videos. So that, because content is another big thing that many people think like, oh, I did 2 videos and now, I don't know what to do videos about anymore, right? But there is so much that you can do. You will basically never run out of ideas because you can always use this structure to come up with a new idea or inspiration or one thing leading to another. So that will cover your content. And there's 2 topics on do's and don'ts when it comes to making videos, like tips, like I say, with the eye contact and lights and background and all these questions that are being asked a lot. And then, of course, the P.I.R.A.T.E technique of live videos, and then a basic confidence. There's some mindset and confidence. There's two strategies for mindset in there. One is basically how to not let your negative beliefs stop you from doing videos, and the other is actually to turn a negative into a positive and empowering belief, so it will actually work for you. So one is it won't hold you back anymore, and the other is it will actually help you forward. And then I have done 9 interviews with professionals on in their field. So one of them is a Hollywood actor, actually. He's appearing in different Hallmark movies and series. And he's also a mindset and health trainer, and his camera connection is fantastic. So I was super, super excited when I asked him that he agreed to do an interview. A flow mindset coach, someone expert on LinkedIn, on sales, on content, on lead magnets, on e-commerce, and they all share their experience and nuggets. So there is a part of the interview is written out in the book. And as a special book bonus, whether you buy the Kindle version or the paperback version, you have access to watch the full interview. So if there's one person that you find specifically interesting, you can watch that, or you can watch all 9 of them, because there's so much. Yeah, like we talk here, if you would write this in a book, you would take out a few pieces, but there is so much more, and there might be something that is said that lands for this person that they really needed to hear this day, or that was giving them their aha or their insight. So that is why I made these interviews fully available as a book bonus.
Excellent. And what's the book called?
Get Comfortable on Camera.
Brilliant. So how can people get in contact with you?
Well, there is a book website, so it's getcomfortableoncamerabook.com, and my name, elsewine.com, is my website where you can also find my information.
Okay, brilliant. And I'll put the links on the podcast description and on the video description. Listen, it's been wonderful talking to you, and I've learned a lot myself, so I know the audience will as well.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you. So
Yeah,
that's all for
thank you for having me.
No problem. That's all for the Speaking Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com or on BitChute or on YouTube. And be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating. Until next week, take care.